So, over the course of my time playing Guild Wars 2, I've seen a lot of new players ask, what role should I learn first? Or say, I should learn to be a healer so that I'll get into more groups or help my party. Or, my favorite Guild Wars 2 YouTuber told me that I should learn heal builds because they're overpowered and can carry entire groups. First off, I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. I get the logic of wanting to play builds that offer the most carry potential for you and your group, and I understand the temptation to get right into learning it as a beginner. However, I want to highlight why I believe there is actually a definitive and optimal path to take for every new player that wants to learn many roles in the game. I understand that this might be a controversial topic to most players, as no one should be told how to have fun in any game. So before I go any further, let me preface that this is my opinion, and an opinion shared by many other players, based on experiences in helping new players learn endgame PvE and common personal experiences. In my opinion, there is one optimal linear path to learn roles in Guild Wars 2. Damage Dealer, often referred to as DPS, then Boon Support, often referred to as Boon DPS, Healer, often referred to as Boon Heal, Tank, and then Specialist. I've set it up this way because the knowledge you gain from mastering one is instantly transferable to the next in a way that has the least amount of pressure and responsibility for a new player, and important concepts are introduced gradually and intuitively. Guild Wars 2's endgame systems are built in such a way that the further to the right of this path you go, the more the success rate of your group tends to be dependent on your performance. Jumping right into one of the roles to the end of the spectrum, while highly rewarding, skill-expressive, fun, and challenging, can be absolutely detrimental to you and your squad's overall enjoyment of the game if you don't have knowledge of the previous roles. Not to say that you can't do it, but you'll be much more effective if you do. Let's break down each of these roles, what may be expected of it during an encounter, and what you should be hoping to learn when you are there. I'm going to assume you already understand how squad composition and boon distribution works in Guild Wars 2, and that you understand simple MMO terms like CC, rotation, and aggro. If not, I'll leave a link to some helpful videos in the description below for you to refer to first. Then you can come back to this video. DPS. This role is most often referred to as the dead weight and the most expendable role of the squad. If you play as a DPS, your primary function is there to deal damage effectively. Over time, as you play the role in the encounter frequently, you should be expected to improve on your positioning, your movement, encounter knowledge, decision making, damage rotation, and CC. This alone can be enough responsibility for most players. As it's the bare minimum expectation, many players tend to stick with only playing in a DPS role and never learning anything else. I want to emphasize that is completely fine. Many players tend to think of DPS players as having zero carry potential, but they rarely think about some of the aspects I just mentioned and how an exceptional DPS player can easily carry a group just as much as any other role by excelling in all of these areas. I also want to emphasize that endgame encounters are not where you should be looking to practice your rotation, and instead should be opportunities for you to understand how to modify it to the encounter so that it is more effective. In short, learn and practice your rotation in the Golem Room under the perfect circumstances before learning an encounter so that you can focus on everything else that's exclusive to that encounter and modify it as the encounter challenges you. Boon Support. This role comes with a primary function and a secondary function. Its primary function is to supply the boons that the healer in your subgroup cannot cover. Its secondary function is to do damage. The emphasis on these roles having separate hierarchies cannot be overstated. Achieving as close to 100% boon uptime on your allocated boons should always aim to be your main priority in an encounter, over your damage, and this should be a benchmark for your performance when playing as this role. Having said that, your damage is still important and can be a critical factor to your squad's success rate, so don't completely ignore it either. As a boon support, you will have all the responsibilities and learning expectations of a DPS role, but with the added layer of making sure your boon uptime is as close to 100% as possible. This tends to add another layer to everything, as your focus will be split between managing consistent uptime and dealing damage. When starting an encounter, you'll want to make sure you immediately provide all your allocated boons to your subgroup as quickly as possible before contributing anything else. If you've already played as a DPS role, you'll understand how crucial it is to have things like 25 stacks of might, fury, quickness, and alacrity as early as possible. You essentially are trying to emulate the golem environment that all your DPS players have been practicing on as much as you can. If you jump into other roles from the start, it might not be as intuitive as to which boons are the most impactful for your damage dealers, and this can lead to a lot of frustration for your subgroup, especially when they're trying to DPS race each other or just improve themselves. Healer. As a healer, your role comes with a whole list of primary functions and a few secondary ones, in addition to all the expectations and learning objectives of the previous roles, bar the ones without doing damage. Whether or not this level of responsibility is fair is a topic for a whole other video, but in addition to everything else, your primary functions as a healer are: keep players alive through healing and or barrier. This is different from reviving down states, which should normally be left to DPS players. Handle mechanics that could otherwise potentially cause the success rate of the squad to drop if another role did it instead. Examples are taking aggro on Soulless Horror, Samurag, Twin Largos, and Wyverns, and escorting Desmina on River of Souls. Provide close to 100% uptime on as many boons as possible. Most healers have access to the most important boons with the exception of quickness and alacrity being mutually exclusive and handled by the Boon Support. Prevent your subgroup from getting CC'd from annoying and potentially fatal attacks through the accurate timing of stability. Prevent your subgroup from getting hit by annoying and potentially fatal attacks through the accurate timing of Aegis, blocks, or distortion. Do the bulk of the CC if possible. This is the typical total level of responsibility and learning outcomes for a healer in an encounter. If you master playing a DPS role in the encounter, you understand when the most fragile players of the squad will require healing and barrier, when and where you should save your most impactful skills that provide stability and Aegis for certain attacks or mechanics, when to save your CC, and which mechanics you should handle and when. If you also master playing a Boon Support, you would understand the importance of your positioning relative to the rest of the squad, and how to ensure everyone is receiving the correct boons. You would also already have a good understanding of what it's like to play with a good healer and a bad healer, and that helps tremendously with learning how to be a good one yourself. Tank. In encounters that require a tank, the role comes with an additional primary function in addition to all the expectations and learning objectives of a healer, but with the added objective of making sure you are aggroing whatever you need to aggro, and positioning the boss correctly and optimally. This is the typical total level of responsibility and learning outcomes for a tank in an encounter. Specialist. This role doesn't have as many responsibilities as roles like a tank or healer. However, what it lacks in the number of responsibilities it makes up for in its potential complexity, encounter knowledge requirements, niche gearing and build requirements, and immense pressure on the squad if it's not done correctly. Most of the time, specialist roles tend to have little to no support from the rest of the squad, and this only adds to the layers of pressure and complexity for players playing the role. Some notable examples of this in raids are roles like flat kiting on Sabbatha, hand kiting on Deimos, pushing on Soulless Horror, golem kiting or greens on Doom, lamp or kiting on Kadim, and pylon kiting on Kadim the Peerless. Roles like this are encounter specific and are sometimes mandatory in order to complete the encounter. Performing them poorly can range from putting immense pressure on the squad or outright wiping them completely. If you can already do all the other roles in the encounter, you should already have a good understanding of what they do during the fight, when they are doing it, and why. With this knowledge, you'll have the added ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome any obstacles or situations that your squad might put you in, because of your previous experience and pattern recognition from playing previous roles. Before some of you start furiously typing a heated reply to all of this in the comments, let me see if I can address some of your potential complaints to this approach. The game doesn't have a holy trinity, so roles don't matter that much. Compared to other MMOs, yes, that's technically correct. Every player can do damage, self-heal, dodge, or mitigate mechanics in some way. In fact, Guild Wars 2's open world, story instances, and even some lower-end fractals can be cleared by literally anything, so the game does a great job of giving you that impression when you start. Unfortunately, this couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to the more difficult encounters of the game. Role specialization definitely will improve your odds of success, it just deviates from traditional formats. What my idea of a linear learning approach does for new players isn't a way to restrict, it's to present manageable stepping stones that lead to mastery, instead of throwing you everything in the kitchen sink and doing it under stress, desperation, and pressure. If you think the latter is a better way to learn, more power to you. Just play what you enjoy, don't overthink it. I agree with this sentiment to some extent. Like I said earlier in the video, you should decide how to have fun in the game. However, unless the other players in your squad or party have the same mindset, you may be the cause of everyone else not having a good time, and that's something I'll never endorse. Playing solo is one thing, but putting yourself in the worst possible position for your enjoyment, at the detriment of everyone else's, is a recipe for disaster. Healer or Boon Support is easier to start with because it's more forgiving. It might be forgiving for you, but it's not forgiving for the rest of your teammates. Remember, you're all in this together. Everyone should be pulling their weight, and that includes you, no matter how experienced or what role you are playing. Being part of a group means that there is a foundational level of trust between squad members, that everyone has the same goal, that everyone is there to contribute to the group's success to the best of their ability. What a healer selfishly contributes to you in terms of being forgiving could have been something that contributed to your squad that greatly increased its success rate. It's like learning to drive a car from the passenger seat. Safe, comfortable, and risk-free, but highly unproductive for you or anyone else. Tanking teaches the entire fight, so you should learn it first. I understand the reasoning behind this argument, but are you really going to tell me that this level of responsibility compared to this level of responsibility is going to make for a pressureless and enjoyable experience for a new player? Yes, if you throw someone who can't swim into the deep end of the pool, they might learn to swim before they drown. But will they have learned to swim correctly, or just did whatever they could not to drown? And more importantly, do you think the experience was enjoyable for them? But hybridization is overpowered. There's no such thing as optimal roles because all the pro groups run Celestial stats or no healer at all. I feel like this point validates the need for a linear path even more. Hybridization is overpowered because the people playing these builds have mastered the roles that these hybrid builds combine to an exceptional degree, and aim to role compress for more efficiency. It's like if someone with no experience tried learning to be a mechanic, and a mechanic of 30 years hands them a multi-tool with 15 different tools on it, and told them it was incredibly good and useful. The trainee would have no idea why until they were in an environment where each tool was necessary and learned how to use each one. To sum it up, learning Guild Wars 2's roles shouldn't be about finding the most overpowered build for the job. It's about developing the awareness step by step to understand why a build is overpowered for the job, and working your way towards it in a way that is comfortable, fulfilling, and fair to both you and your teammates. Start with improving yourself, then learn how to best empower others, then learn to protect and lead them. That's the best way to grow from just another player into a complete teammate. If you found this helpful, feel free to drop a like and leave a comment and let me know. I'd also love to hear your guys' opinions on this topic, and what you tell a new player who had this question. Many thanks to all the people who I spoke to who gave their 2 cents on this topic. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you around Tyria. Guild Wars 2's endgame systems are built in such a way that the further to the right of this path you go, the more you would understand the importance of your positioning relative to the rest of the squad. Did I just say west of the squad? I'm entering my uwu phase, guys.